Take two. Hello. Um, just checking that we are good to go this time. But yes, excellent. Hi everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's definitely morning here. I'm not a very good morning person, so you'll have to forgive me. But here I am, and I'm ready. I'm just gonna make sure I've got everything open here. I guess first of all, I will just do a shout out to Rootfire International and Reed and all the guys in the team who invited me on to do the session for the Business Club Happy Hour. Thanks, guys. Very flattering. I'm a little nervous, so it's very weird talking to myself with no one like answering. So I guess I'll get used to it. Thanks. So I'm here mostly just to talk about my experiences, I believe, in the music industry, which hasn't been all that long. I mean, I've got a pretty interesting story, I suppose, when, hey, hi. When I think back on it, how it all came to be, and I know I've got a couple of questions already that have come in on my Facebook and Instagram asking me how I got into it all. So I guess while we're kind of waiting for more people to join, if they do, I will have a little bit of chat about that. First of all, I guess those who haven't met me before, I am a woman and I am Australian. So my story in the industry actually started in Australia. And it was very weird and or just very organic. I didn't go and study anything to do with music. I've always been a huge music fan. And, you know, tried to do it myself, and I think I kind of didn't have enough belief in myself, so I just wanted to go and help other people. And the way that happened, I guess I was initially, I was in weird jobs. I was in corporate jobs for a lot of my 20s. I went from, I studied languages at university, which I mean, just go and travel, really. So I studied languages, and then my first job, because all I ever knew I wanted to do was travel, was a travel agent, which actually came in super handy with my tour management job, because a lot of it is coordination and logistics and travel. So that was really cool. So I did that for a couple of years, and then I went into oops, hang on, I've got a little message here. Let's just make sure that everyone can hear me. Some people are having issues, Reed, saying that it's just showing a 22-second video and then cutting me off. So maybe, do we need to give them the new link or something? Hang on, where are we? Here we go. That's the old link. Okay, he's on it. He's pasting a new link. Let me just type that to my guys. Sorry to keep you waiting, but this is the band, so we kind of want them involved. All right. This is basically what tour management is. It's like answering questions every 3 seconds. This, that, the other one over there, someone calling you here, radio going. All right, cool. Well, I'll continue on. Becky says they have to just close it out and start again. Oh, TJ, hey, man, it's fine. Okay, cool. Maybe I should just continue then in that case. So yeah, I went from being a travel agent, which, as I said, was super handy because, as a travel agent, you kind of like you have 6 phones going, you've got a whole room full of people, you've got like someone who's missed their flight and someone who's like hotels burning down or whatever. So you've got like a million things going on that you have to deal with, and that pretty much is what tour managing is all about. So that was cool. From there, in the same company, I worked for Flight Centre, who are a really huge company here in Australia, but they're also all around the world. I moved into like lots of corporate roles, and somehow without having a marketing degree, I ended up being like the national marketing manager for their student brand. And then I was putting together these massive $1 million contracts between travel wholesalers and our company, which I also had no experience in. So I'm pretty good at like just jumping in the deep end with things, which is kind of what happened with tour managing as well. And from there, I ended up landing the sweet job of editor of 4 travel magazines within that company. And I did that for a couple of years, and then decided, well, I will admit I fell in love, and I followed a dude to Israel. And I got to keep my job because they weren't really able to replace me at the time. So I ended up just being a freelance travel writer for the next 5 years, just cruising. It was the best job ever. I just cruised. And while I was doing that, I kind of got involved heavily in a bit of a hippie pilgrimage, and started going to a lot of festivals and loving it. Like, I'd never really discovered the festival world until then. I'd been corporate world. So festival world was definitely a lot more fun. And I was in trucks full of hippies going from Boom in Portugal down into Spain, and living the life basically. And when I was back in Australia eventually, because I was in Europe for most of that, I came back to Australia and was invited to a festival called Rainbow Serpent Festival, which I'd never heard of. And it was a transformational festival. So lots of like, it was a combination of, it's a great festival, a combination of electronic music and lots of live and reggae and speakers and that type of thing, and party time. And I met the members of a reggae band there who I became friends with, and 3 or 4 festivals later, they asked me to be their manager. And that's how it all started. That was 2009. And I was like, well, how hard can it be? Let's just give it a go. Of course, it's very hard. And I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. And I'm the kind of person who doesn't really ask for help, which is also something that I highly recommend against. You should ask for help. Finding a mentor or somebody who knows what they're doing really makes things a lot easier. So anyway, I didn't do that. I went pretty much straight into it. Had a really huge stroke of luck though, and the first gig that I booked this band, they were called Firewalk from Byron Bay in Australia. Great band, super talented. But the first gig I booked them was WOMAD in Adelaide, huge World of Music and Dance festival. They have 6 or 7 of them around the world each year. And it was great. We got flown there. We had a 5-star hotel. We played this massive stage to like 10,000 people. And these guys they'd never had anything like that before. And I was like, wow, that was pretty cool. That was pretty easy. I'm going to keep that going. Why not? And yeah, it got a little tougher after that. We played a lot of small shows, but I learned really quickly. And I had other friends in the industry like Bobby Alou, who's a really old friend of mine. And I started co-managing with him after that. And he's like, if you ever get a chance to check out Bobby Alou, he's fantastic. And he's a really, really awesome person, one of the best. He was Xavier Rudd's drummer for many years until recently. Now he's doing his own thing again. But anyway, we worked together for a while. And then from Bobby Alou, actually, this is kind of when I met Nahko around then. It was 2013. I know he thinks it's 2012, but Nahko's got a really bad memory sometimes. So it was 2013, the beginning of 2013. and I'd just broken up from a really intense breakup and was like super struggling and just like desperate to get out of the country or something. Oh yeah, Jared says he met Bobby when he was playing with Oka. Oka, also an epic band. I used to do some bookings for those guys. Amazing. OKA, if you ever get a chance to look at their stuff, they're super cool. There's some great music in Australia. We've got some excellent stuff that kind of, I mean, Oka got big in Canada, I think. Pretty big in Canada. I don't think that did much in the States, but it's hard touring in the States and touring international. It's expensive. It's, you know, yes, there's a lot of competition out there. So now where was I? Oh yeah, so Nahko. I met Nahko. So he came to Australia, and a friend of mine, Murray Kyle, a very dear friend of mine, also a very talented musician, told me about this guy. He said, oh man, you've got to watch this film clip of this new guy. He's like the next cool thing, Nahko and Medicine for the People. And he showed me the Aloha Keakua video, and I was like, very nice. Like that. That's very nice. And anyway, they were coming to Australia, I think a few weeks after that, and I'd kind of forgotten about it. But yeah, they ended up doing a gig in Byron Bay at this really tiny little venue where the sound was really bad and you couldn't even see them because the stage was really tiny. And at that stage it was Nahko, Hope, Chase, maybe Dustin. I don't think it was Dustin. I think it might have just been the three of them. Oh, Nahko, hang on one second. Hold on one sec. Hey, Reed. Nahko's on rootfire.net TV and can't find it. Should we go onto Facebook? I mean, onto, oh yeah, Facebook? I think I'm yabbing on. Cool. Let me know if you made it, Narks. Talking about you right now. Oops, sorry. I pressed the wrong button, I think. Am I good, Reed? Can you see me again? And anyone having problems, well, I can't even talk to you because you can't see. Okay, good. All right. Okay, so yeah, so anyway, it was 2013, met Nahko, and they were playing this gig it's called the Culture Jam, tiny little place, couldn't hear it, it was packed, and I left the gig halfway through because I couldn't even get a grasp of what they were doing, but I'd heard such great things about them. So anyway, left the gig, bought the CD, by the way. I bought the CD, Nux. I don't know if I ever told you that. I bought your CD. And then a couple of days later, I was down at the Mullumbimby Cafe, Rock and Roll Cafe, which I know Nahko and the guys were a huge fan of. Good coffee. And there they were, just sitting there at a coffee at one of the tables, him and Hope and their friend Keith. And Keith invited me over to the table. I guess I looked cute or something, I don't know. And ended up having a chat to them. And they were supposed to be doing a support gig for Oka, who we were talking about before, up on the Sunshine Coast a couple of weeks later. And at that point I was managing Oka. And Nahko says he owes me money back. But yeah, I didn't tell them because I wanted to kind of suss it out and see what they were like, because I was like, oh, here we go, another so-called prophet. You know, I'm from Byron Bay, where everybody thinks they're a prophet or a guru of some description. So, you know, I'm cynical or wary, one or the other. And sorry, that's Barry. Anyway, so I had a chat to them, and pretty much within the first few minutes, I had decided that he was cool. They were cool. You know, he was joking about a poster that was up on the wall of him and somebody else that he was playing with, and he seemed super real. So I gave him, then I let them know that I was actually managing the band that they were supporting in the next weekend or something like that. So that was sort of the beginning. And then God, these comments are so distracting. It's very funny. So I played the gig, great, became friends with them. Hope and I got along great. We played Rainbow Serpent Festival a couple of weeks later. So this was January 2013. And then there was this huge party back in Byron Bay at a house. It was one of those random, like, it was one of those random parties where you don't really know how you ended up there, but it was at an apartment down on the beach, and there was Murray Kyle there, Xavier Rudd was there, Nahko was there, the whole crew were there, and a few friends, and everyone was kind of raging, playing music and, you know, showing off, that kind of thing. And yeah, we just kind of slowly built friendships. And actually, I also remember at that party that somebody was handing out mushroom chocolate balls, and I was like, are they very strong? And she told me, no, they're not strong at all. So I ate the whole thing, and the next minute I had to leave. Like I had to leave because I was making a total fool of myself. And I remember Nahko. I'm telling them the truth. I remember Nahko looking across at me and just like giving me this look like he knew that I was completely trolleyed. And so that was pretty much the beginning of our connection. Then I went to Bali for a few weeks. Turns out they were there. And that's when the whole conversation of tour management came up. And, you know, I'd been doing that with Groundation and a few other bands back in Australia. I was still pretty green, but yeah, I was game. I was up for the challenge. I'd never done anything in the States. I had not even ever wanted to even go to the States. I already had like a pretty... I'd closed the door to the US. It didn't interest me at all. But the band had definitely, you know, the music had definitely already sold me. I was in, like I was definitely in, and I could see that it was going to be something special. So, you know, I may have embellished my talents at that point, slightly, or my experience, but we did it. So we went to actually what happened was we were in Bali for that little while. I barely even saw those guys, actually. I hung out with Hope a little bit, but eventually after a few emails back and forth, Nahko told me I had the job. So I flew to America. The hardest part of that was leaving my pet rat, who I really loved, and he died before I got home, so let's not go there because it's really sad. But it was amazing. It was like baptism by fire over there. Holy crapoly. It was really intense. All of us were pretty new. Got some crazy stories actually from the beginning of that. But that's how I became tour manager with Nahko and Medicine for the People. It was just kind of an organic, natural flow of having a little bit of experience, but being in the right place at the right time, getting along with everybody, which is really crucial, and just willing to give it a crack, especially with the band at the stage they were at that point. It was pretty rough. Pretty rough. We did it. Okay, I'm going to have a look at some questions here. I'm just going to scroll back here. Oh my goodness. Okay, there's some funny stuff in there. Alexia, you're so real. Thanks. Yeah, I have really hard time at like filtering sometimes. I hope that everyone's okay with that. Renee asks, Renee Honrada asks, is there such a thing as a band, yoga, and spiritual teacher? That's the job I want. Man, I mean, I think at some point in a band's career, every band should have that if they can afford to have that on the road. We actually have a lot of people who hit us up when we're on, on the road, offering to give us yoga classes or sound healings, that kind of thing. So I try to structure that into the day if I've got enough notice, where we might do that before or after sound check, and I try and get a show of hands, and then find a room at the venue that it can happen in. And yeah, we've done that quite a lot. We haven't ever had any, I mean, we only just got a monitor engineer, let alone a yoga spiritual teacher. But yeah, I think massage therapist, definitely next on the cards. And a caterer, that would be epic. Okay, back to questions. And Nahko says, I did know what I was doing when I started. I mean, fake it till you make it. Okay, Thomas Cousins from Ineffable, the president of Ineffable, has a question. First of all, Thomas is a legend, president of Ineffable Music, who are an awesome company. Check them out if you haven't. I actually work with them. I'm very happy to work with them because they're such a great group of people, and I'm learning so much from them as well. But in co-managing Mike Love, I co-manage him with Eagle Cats, who is a legend. He's also the manager of Collie Buds. Question from Thomas. What's different about being a TM in Australia versus the US? What's your favourite club-sized venue in the US? I mean, essentially the job is the same wherever you are, particularly, like most aspects of it are. When it comes down to like accounting and contracts, that type of thing, very different, like very different. The way deals are set up in both countries, in all countries actually varies. And so trying to get your head around, when I first went to the States, I was like, what language is that even written in? I had no idea what this meant in GBO. It was very confusing. So there was a lot to learn there, but essentially the same. Obviously, when you tour internationally to other countries that don't speak the language, well, even that's not really an issue because most people speak English, so it's all pretty chill. I find that the US is probably a little bit more intense than Australia. Australia's so relaxed, and so that probably is a reflection of the deals, the contracts and that type of thing as well. It's just a little bit more relaxed. And my favorite club-sized venue in the US. Probably should have thought about that one before I called that one out. I've got a lot of favorite venues. The new one in Denver, can somebody help me out with the name of that one? It's big. It's like 3,500 capacity or something, but that was epic. What is it? God, that's terrible, isn't it? It's all a blur. It's all a blur, Thomas. I love the Catalyst. That's fun. That's always fun. The Catalyst in Santa Cruz. God, we played so many. Yeah, I'm just going to pass on that one now. There's some great clubs out there, though. Next question. Mission Ballroom. Thank you. Thank you. Great club. That's the one in Denver that I totally forgot about. Thanks, Reed. Gee, there's some good questions in here. Okay. Igor says that everything in Australia can kill you at every corner. Not true. I think you're a bunch of chickens, pretty much. I mean, I've definitely had a few close calls with, you know, poisonous snakes and stuff like that, but it's not that bad. It's really not that bad. Spiders too. I've had a few like spiders probably about that size in my bathroom. But other than that, it's fine. Yes, Thomas, the mission and the catalyst practically the same. I think it's like, for me, it's location as well. Like I have a few favorite spots. So, you know, venue schmenu, if you've got a good street with shopping and a great coffee. Nahko asks me, how do you manage to keep all your shit together from TMing to managing to being a legend across continents? Baz, I hope the dog's not too loud, sorry. Yeah, it's a lot. It's definitely a lot. Basically, not much of a personal life going on. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm a workaholic. I take my job, excuse me one second. Barry, come here. Come here. No need for that. Come on. Come on. Yeah, I take my work very seriously. So I tend to be over detailed, I'm very thorough is the thing. So yeah, just being organized and prepared for anything, so that you've got all your ducks in a row. Don't know about the legend part. Okay. What are, Addison Tab. What are some things to consider when potentially working with a new band? For me, it's a bit of, there's a few things. First of all, I have to really resonate with the music, because for me, there's kind of no point. The music has to have, you know, I've always said that I'll really only work with bands that I feel like using their music consciously, you know, to make this very crazy world a better place. So that's important to me. They need to be good people with integrity, and also willing to like work hard and yeah, do the work themselves as well. Because when you're doing a job like tour management or managing, you put a lot of your heart and soul into it. Like you're really looking after them, oftentimes more than yourself, probably like most of the time. So, you know, you want to make sure that that's coming from the right place, from a really heartfelt place. Okay, what else have we got? I had a couple earlier. I actually had one from Hope Medford, who we all know and love as the original percussion player. Hang on a second. I'm going to pull that question up. I mean, I probably shouldn't be able to remember that, but Hope asked me, how many times I've asked myself, what the F am I doing? Which I think is hilarious. And there it is. Why the F am I doing this? At the very beginning of tour managing with Nahko and Medicine for the People, I asked myself that on a pretty regular basis, like probably 10 to 20 times a day. But I'd always come up with a good answer. And, you know, it was tough. We were busting it. We were seriously busting it. Like the routings we were being given, and I just remember one day having to do like a 31-hour drive straight through to get to the next gig. We got to a festival, and, you know, it was tiny and probably like 20 people on the dance floor. And I mean, yeah, there's endless stories, but we worked really hard back in those days. And everyone was new to it. So, you know, the guys were still probably not taking it as seriously as you know, if had they known what was about to happen for them, that they could have. It was still just like, yeah, woo, we're raging, we're partying, you know, we're in Hawaii, let's just keep on doing it, you know. So the band has just grown so much professionally and personally, and you know, as new members have come in as well, there's been lots of change, and I don't ask myself that question anymore. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, hey, Red. Oh, nice to see you here. TJ, woof. Okay. So Sammy Webster. This is not a question read. You don't need to pop it up there, but Sammy says she loves to see my clothes unpacked and on the shelf. I know, it's rare, isn't it? I mean, I don't have many because most of them are in storage in the States. I had to leave so quickly, but it's a nice feeling. Sammy used to do merch for us. She's a sweetheart. Then she had a baby. Sweet little baby, Ollie. Okay. Oh. Okay. Oh my gosh, so many good questions. I can't decide. Okay, okay, I'll be there in a second. Sorry. Okay, this one's from Ali. Actually, no, sorry, Sally, you are a hella nice person. So how do you manage to put your foot down and take control when needed? Examples, if the venue rep doesn't provide what they said they would in advance, band not cooperating, never, to get shit done. Too many people backstage in the green room. You always go about this stuff so nice and professional. Tell us your ways. I just think that, you know, there are many ways to get what you need out of a situation, and you can still be a nice person in doing that. You don't need to be like a dick. So, yeah, I mean, obviously if I arrive at a venue and they haven't done what I've advanced, which is like such a crucial part of the role, you just get onto it straight away. I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't, there's no point in yelling and screaming. It's just like, hey, our beers aren't here. Can we get those immediately, please? You know, once, and this was actually back at the beginning again, we rolled in, this is the first week that I ever worked with Nahko. We rolled in to this little place in Ohio, in Columbus, I think it was, and I'd advanced all the sound. At that time, we didn't have a team. We just had me, and that was it, me. Oh, and Sleepy, our driver, good name for a driver, huh? And so we rolled in, and there wasn't even a PA. I mean, I guess they just expected them to play a live acoustic show with no equipment. So what do you do? I mean, you can't, there's no point in like pointing fingers and stuff at that stage. So we ended up asking nicely around and found somebody who had one at their house, and the show happened. And actually Leah Song was at that show, which was kind of cool. So yeah, stuff happens. The band aren't always going to cooperate. You know, sometimes they're tired or they're hungover or they're, you know, they're having a bad day in general. But generally, like if you've been with a band for long enough, everyone knows what they've got to do, and everyone's generally super respectful of each other. But if they're not going to, then you just have to, you just have to put your foot down. Fortunately, I don't have to do that much. Like it's kind of rare. these days it's just, everybody in the band is so respectful and supportive of each other. So it's cool. And me, and supportive of me, which is super important as well. People backstage, people in the green room, you just do a really solid announcement that the green room's closing in 3 minutes, even if it's only closing in the next 2 hours. But that's generally how I clear people out. Yeah. Teresa. Oh, how do I say your last name? That's cool. Poosty? Teresa? Thank you for doing this. Welcome. Is it hard being a woman and or a non-American working in the music business in the US? Good question. Obviously, the music industry is very heavily dominated by dudes. It's pretty rare to have a female tour manager, but I think that word's getting out in the street that it's great to have a female tour manager. We seem to be able to do things much more gracefully than guys, and also handle a million things at once, which is predominantly what you're doing as a TM. You've just got so many things on the go at the same time. We're really naturally multitaskers. So I've always been really supported and respected. I've had no issues being a woman, other than probably some guys don't take kindly to being told what to do by a woman, even if I say it nicely, or yeah, it just doesn't come naturally for them. So that's the biggest struggle I've had. Otherwise it's been fantastic. Being an Australian definitely has good points when you're in the US, because everyone thinks you've got a cute accent, so you get away with heaps of stuff with the cute accent. So I'm happy with that. Okay. Nahko says we're naughty too, though, and it's true. It's true. They are naughty. I'm not going to sing their praises 100%. They're definitely naughty. They're little rat bags a lot of the time. But do what you got to do. As long as you're on the bus at the time the bus leaves, and you're on the stage when you need to do your sound check, and you've got the energy to perform to your maximum capacity every night, then be naughty. Okay. Donna. Hi, Donna Knoll. This is the bottom question read. How is it traveling with all those guys on the tour bus? Good question. That is, I mean, you get so used to it. It's just kind of how we live now. We are in each other's faces on that bus. Excuse me, pardon me, whoops, excuse me, got to get through. There's not a lot of space. And we've got some big dudes in the band as well. It's not there's some big dudes who barely even fit into their bunks. And we've generally got all bunks. So the bus has got a front lounge area and kitchen, just a little mini kitchen, and we tend to stock up. We like to do lots of our own cooking and stuff like that, so we've got all that stocked up. Then it's got 12 bunks in it, and that's where we all sleep. So you can imagine there's a bit of noise and sharing of body odor and that type of thing that you have to get used to and just accept. You just surrender to it, really. Random dirty socks flying around the hallways. The back room is like a lounge room that we all share. So we try and keep that tidy, but when there are 12 of you, and generally at least one wife, the beautiful Natalie, who is married to Patricio, our bass player, she's with us a lot, which we all love. But that's a minimum of 13 people on the bus. So it's super crucial that everybody respects each other's space and keeps things tidy. And if that can happen, normally about once a week, I usually have a bit of a meltdown and send pictures of a pile of dirty clothes or something out on our WhatsApp chain and just be sort it out. And And Nahko does that too, because Nahko's a bit of a clean freak. So, you know, that'll happen eventually. Like, it'll just get a little bit crazy after we've done maybe 6 or 7 shows in a row and everyone's tired and can't be bothered cleaning their bedroom. So, but if, you know, if everything's like run well and we have a lot of fun, like, it's fun. We have a lot of fun. We all love each other and everyone's like super cool and funny, and it's a blast. Pato has this thing. Pato will every now and then just have like a raging night to himself and just like play really loud music up the front, which is hilarious. And it's just a Pato thing. But yeah, everyone's got their different quirks on the bus. Everyone's got something going on. Oh yeah, Nahko says, yeah, those are Chitty's socks. Correct. They are generally Chitty's socks on the bus that are scattered. Chitty has like little pockets of like, oh, look, there's a little Chitty pile over on the top of the seat. And oh, look, there's some Chitty boots that are like this big. He has like he's like a little rat, and he has little storing zones. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay, let's just cruise back up here further. I had a question earlier from Ali. Let me just pull that one up. Ali, if you have been to our shows and you've been to our merch stand, Ali Chapman is our merch girl. Sweetest human, such a beautiful person. And she sent me a bunch of questions, and I guess that's because she tries to ask me those when we're on tour, but we're both so busy that we never even get a chance to sit down and have a coffee together. So she sent me like this many. Let me see what she's asked here. She's asked a couple of good questions. I mean, they're all good questions. Sorry, Ellie, no, they're all good, but I'm just like filtering. There's one here about what's the most important thing to provide for the artist or the band. So generally, the two most important things are food and money. So as long as there is food on the bus, food in the venue, food for after the show, you're generally going to be a popular tour manager. And if you pay their per diems on time, which I'll admit sometimes I'm a little bit late because accounting is like my least favorite subject, but if you pay their PDs on time, you have lots of food around, stoked. They're going to be stoked. But, you know, there's more than that. You've got to definitely make sure that they've got all the information that they need on hand at all times. So we use an app called Master Tour. Just incidentally, Brian Sandell, who is the tour manager for Revolution, he did one of these sessions a couple of weeks ago specifically on tour management. So it's like all the, you know, the list of things to do, like very specific job stuff. If you want to have a listen to that, you want some further information on the actual day-to-day run of schedule for a tour manager, that's a great place to find it. So yeah, Master Tour, sorry, it's awesome. Basically, they never have to ask you a question if you're really thorough and you put everything in there. So it'll be everything from the schedule, what the Wi-Fi password is, you know, what they're getting fed that day, if there's a washing machine, blah, blah, blah. Everything is in there. So they literally just open their phone and should be able to get those answers from there. And also just don't ever lie to the band about anything, because you'll get busted for sure. So what I'm really talking about is like timings and stuff like that. If you tell them that they need to be somewhere earlier than they actually should be, yeah, they will resent you forever for that kind of thing. Like they want you to be completely honest, and yeah, they want to sleep in as long as they possibly can. And yeah, also I plan lots of events. Or, you know, I don't plan the events. I look for things that are going on. Say we've got a day off somewhere, check out what concerts might be on or what we might be able to do that day. We get lots of offers. We've got some fantastic fans out there who offer to take us on, you know, on whitewater rafting trips or whatever it might be. And so I try and structure those into schedules as well, so that the guys have got some fun stuff to do on their days off rather than just roaming the streets. That kind of thing. Thanks, Ali. Nahko. Okay, all right. Okay. Robert Dudeman. Hello. Hi. How you doing? So Robert asks, Mel, how is a tour manager? Is it as a tour manager? Okay. Is it hard to get the crew to calm down and get on the bus after a rager sellout night on a Friday in Denver, Florida, or a fave venue? Yeah, very hard. It's hard for me too. Like, I don't want to be the killjoy, like telling everyone the party's over. But, you know, I think with those ones where I know it's going to be a rager, because I already know that it's going to be a rager 3 days in advance, I just like do some subliminal and subtle messaging about how important it is that we're on the bus for that, you know, that timing, because of the next day and how it affects it. So, you know, if you're working with the right people, they're generally there. There's definitely been a few occasions where we've had to go on a bit of a group search for somebody who's, you know, either lost their phone or got caught up in the moment. But it's also a very smart move as a tour manager to make sure that you've kind of got a bit of a buffer there as well. So you've allowed yourself an extra, like, don't tell the guys this though, but like an extra 15, half an hour grace. Okay. Okay. All lost their passport. Yes, Ali, you're right. We've had some lost passports, some lost wallets, lots of everything lost, actually. Pants, underpants, socks, everything. Hey, Jean-C Le Jouger. Sorry, that's such bad pronunciation. Jean-C is an epic bass player who, when our other epic bass player, Pato, couldn't play a show in Vancouver, filled in for us last year and totally rocked it. He asks, how did the virus affect your work and what have you been up to? So virus affected my work pretty intensely. All of us in the live touring music industry just kind of watched our whole year disappear. For me, what that meant was worrying about the fact that I didn't have medical cover in the US, and here I was just hanging out with no work. So I got on the first plane back to Australia so that I could be close to my family while everything kind of worked itself out. You know, and it's kind of looking like there's definitely no touring or live music happening for at least the rest of this year, in the States at least. Other places like Australia is definitely not being affected anywhere near as hard. So things are starting to open up over here. It's pretty chill, actually. So I wouldn't be surprised if we do have, well, I know actually over in New Zealand that they're starting to open up venues and have, like, as of July, where they're going to have 1,000 capacity. Oh my gosh, whew, early morning. 1,000 capacity venues with 100 people in them. So, you know, things are moving forward, but it's just a mystery as to how that's going to look in the States right now, and Europe, obviously. And what have I been up to? I've been up to the first few weeks. I was trying to work out what the hell just happened. And I, you know, started to do exercise and stuff, which is just crazy, because that kind of thing, you know, is very rare when you're touring, that you actually look after yourself. So yeah, I had a few chill weeks, and then all of a sudden it got busy again because I was approached by a friend of mine, Chris Decker, who started up a festival called Earth Dance many, many years ago, and to help him produce a new online festival, which I'll give a plug right now. But that's what I've been doing for the last 4 weeks or so. I've been working really, really hard on a festival that's going to be streamed next weekend, the 23rd and the 24th of May. It has some epic headliners, John Butler and Michael Franti and Nahko, of course, Fink, who is an all-time favourite of mine from the UK. He lives in Berlin though, and many others. There's 9 stages full of people, so you can imagine 9 stages with over 100 appearances and like epic, for everything from speakers to musicians to youth activists and poets, and like we're piecing it all together at the moment. So yeah, that is keeping me awake at night, but it's great. It's so rewarding. All right. May Kessler, good question. May Kessler, how do you take care of yourself on tour while taking care of everyone and everything? Side note, I've seen you in action many times and you're a badass. Thank you. So funny being called a badass. It's so weird, but thank you. And yeah, that's a really good question because it's something that I have not generally been very good at, and it's something that's really important for anyone who's going to look at doing this for a job. You have really late nights every night that you have a show. Your days are so crammed as a TM, like you're juggling so many balls. And, you know, when you're working with a team of, say, 12 people, there's always a question, or there, you know, there's a lot of problem solving going on during the day, or, you know, you've got a full day setting up once you arrive at a venue right through to when the doors open. So you kind of forget about yourself a lot of the time. Sometimes I forget to eat and drink water, you know, essentials to survival in life. Exercise, as I said, not even an option really. But I know other TMs who do that. And so, and I have good runs. We actually are all pretty health conscious. So actually, there are a couple of guys in the band who are always checking in on me. Have you drunk water yet? Have you had your breakfast? Whatever it might be, which is great, and I really appreciate that. But we also have we have a really healthy organic rider. So when we arrive at the venue, we've got organic veggies and fruits, and we bought a fancy juicer that we use. So everybody makes themselves an organic juice in the morning. And so those kinds of things, if you've got those with you on tour, really, really help. And everyone's into taking immune tonics. And yeah, I think finding balance is really important. You just have to carve that time out, like consciously carve that time out for you during the day. Corey Scott, Hoss, hello. This is a funny one. I heard that Nahko can shapeshift into a sex panther. Is this true? This is an in-joke, just in case you hadn't worked out. Yes, he's definitely a shapeshifter. I don't know about sex panther, but he's definitely a shapeshifter. Okay. Geez, it's been an hour. I've talked about myself for an hour. This is crazy. Madison Snyder, please tell the story of how you got where you are as a tour band manager. I hope to move in that direction. Advice welcome. So I told the story of how I met everybody as far as Nahko that team are concerned. I think the best advice I would have is, if you feel like you've got what it takes to be a tour manager, which is, you've got to have a really strong constitution and stamina, you've got to have smarts, you've got to be like able to handle pretty stressful situations. There's a lot of kind of basic foundations there. Get along with most people, all people if you can. So if you feel like you've got all of that and you'd be suited to the job, then just probably trying to find some assistant work with other tour managers, trying to, find your way into the industry through networks that you have. Just fighting for it, really. A lot of it is time and place and, just being in the right time at the right place. Does that make sense? Yes. And just doing a good job. But if you've got a mentor who can teach you the basics of the role, then everything else should kind of flow. Okay. Whew. I might answer just a couple more and then let everybody go because I don't want to be boring everybody. This is a funny question. I don't know. I guess it could be interesting to a lot of people who've never been on a tour bus before, but read, this one's not on there, but can you poop on the bus? I'm asking for a friend. So on the tour bus, we have a little toilet, which is very handy. And my answer to that question is yes, you can poop on the bus, but you will definitely never be spoken to ever again, ever. You may lose your job and you will probably never get a job again, ever. We actually had this happen to us last year. Unfortunately, when we were in Europe, we had this epic double-decker bus. We had a 3-week tour happening, and within the first few days, somebody pooped in the toilet and jammed it. And also, probably when they were pulling their pants down, a coin came out, and so that jammed all the works as well. None of us did it because we know. So it must have been somebody who made a guest appearance on the bus at some point. But boy, for 3 weeks we had no toilet. We couldn't pee in the toilet. So it was, you can only imagine. You're driving. Yeah, it was not a good situation. So yeah, highly recommend not to do that. Okay. Okay. Craziest. Okay, maybe this will be my last one, unless I get some others that come through. But oh gee, there's a few answers to this one though. It's this is one of Ali's questions. It's, what is the craziest story that you had while being a manager or a tour manager? We've definitely had some awesome epic stories. I really wish I'd written a diary or a journal, as you call them, because I'd love to write a book about all the crazy stuff that we've come across. We just seem to be a magnet for crazy, really. So the first tour I ever did with Nahko, the first day of the first tour that I ever did with Nahko, Nahko didn't show up. So we had a, no, I mean, not totally his fault, but yeah, we had a show in Ohio at a festival, and it was me and Hope and Dustin in a van driving 5 hours to this festival, and I was waiting for Nahko to arrive so that we could fly in. I'm trying to do like the best job I could, trying to impress, you know. And he'd missed a flight the night before. He was with a friend, and it was actually when he visited the San Quentin prison. So this was when all of that was happening. So for his song for San Quentin, that's when he'd gone to the prison. I'm sure you all know that story. But yeah, he missed a flight, and then there was also this situation at the airport where the plane, a plane, sorry, had hit the runway and lost a tail or something in San Francisco. So it just closed everything down. And basically, end of the story, I get a call saying that he's not going to be there. And also, I had just, and this is the first and last time that I ever did this, accepted a puff on a spliff or a joint or whatever you call it from Chase Mackay. And it blew my head off. I had the most, I can't believe I'm telling this story. But yeah, it was not a good day, first day of the first tour ever. I don't even know how I still kept my job. But we drove to the festival. I got out of the bus. I had to talk to the promoter and tell him that we actually didn't have a lead singer. And then, and then we went on to play with Dustin and Hope, and they rocked it. They rocked a set. So that was the first day. Then the second day was the day that we arrived at a venue and there was no PA at the venue. The third day we found out that our new head of our new label had been raced off to hospital, unfortunately, with a problem. And then we arrived for our first gig with Xavier Rudd, because we were actually supporting Xavier Rudd on that tour. And we were told that we had one band member too many and we weren't going to be able to use that bass player. And so that all hell broke loose. This was the first week. So it was a pretty rough introduction, but we got through it. We've also had some pretty interesting stuff, like, you know, crazy dancers run out onto the stage during really big shows, having to do some ninja work with various fans over the time. All kinds of stuff happens. I haven't actually, there you go. I wanted to do a quick shout out to Mike Love as well. I've talked a lot about Nahko and Medicine for the People because, you know, they're the homies too. But Mike, I started managing Mike Love, who I'd actually been booking him in Australia because I do that work as well. I book bands back here in Australia on tours, even if I am over in the States, book and promote. So I was working with Mike for a while, and he did a support tour with Nahko, a couple of shows with Nahko, got to know them. Such an amazing talent. And I started managing him with Igor from Ineffable last June, and he's crushing it. He released, so proud of both the boys this week. Mike released a new track that was produced by Collie Buds this week, and it's killing it. And he did his first ever music video, which I'm sure was tricky, if it's anything like talking to yourself in a camera. But yeah, that's really great news. And then Nahko's obviously announced releasing Take Your Power Back tomorrow, which is super cool. So it's been a really big week, and I just announced the One Earth Live Festival. So we're all go team, go team. Let me see if we've got anything else really. Let me see. What were those Facebook questions? Oh, here we go, Reed. Okay. Oh yeah, this one's from this is a funny question, you know, it's nothing, but it's important. Mickey Selton is a friend of mine from Australia. She's a manager and tour manager as well. She manages Catch a Fire, which is a reggae band from New Zealand. She's an epic woman, full power. Also calls herself Mama Jar, but she puts J-A-H at the end. She's a big fan of reggae music, let's just say that. So your question is, what's first when you land? Check into the hotel, or B, get herb? So this is obviously a very applicable question when you're working with reggae bands. And I have done a few times. Actually, the first time I realized that this was even a question was when I was working with Groundation, who are, well, they've morphed now. I was going to say they're no longer, but the original Groundation has actually disbanded, and Harrison, the lead singer, went on to form a new band. But back in the day, this was 2010, which is also one of my first experiences in tour managing music, like major experiences. I actually brought this band out, Groundation, 12 people, and they were from the States, Jamaica, and France. I had no idea what I was doing, like none. I had no idea about bringing bands to Australia. I didn't know about visas. I didn't know anything. I'd been booking, so I knew how to book a venue. So I booked all their venues and I booked their shows. But all of a sudden I was promoting, and I was, getting stuff like the visas were, that was a story. But it all happened and it was successful, and I don't really know how we did it, but we made some money and it was great. But the first day that they arrived was for a festival called Island Vibe here in Australia, which is awesome. It's run by my dear friend Morgan Quinn. It's on an island, funnily enough, just off the coast of Brisbane. Beautiful, so gorgeous. The festival is 5,000 people max, and it's right on the beach, so you can literally finish having a dance and a beer and then walk for 3 minutes and you're on an idyllic Australian island beach. It's amazing. Anyway, so these guys rolled in. This is their first experience of Australia ever. They'd never been to Australia before. And Marcus, the keyboard player, gets out of the van when they pull in, and I'm ready to show them into their beautiful, cabins and accommodation. And he says, "Great to meet you, Mel. Look, it's been 24 hours since my last smoke. I was just wondering, when we're going to see the herb." And so I had to quickly make some calls, which is not easy in Australia. I mean, it's one of those places where that kind of thing is very, almost impossible. And I swear, after that experience, I took that off my job description. It's not what I do anymore. Even in the States, where it's, everywhere, and you can literally go down to a store and buy it, it's not my job. So, yes, my answer is check into the hotel. Thanks, Mickey. Classic. All right. Well, look, unless I have, sorry, those comments are just the most entertaining. One more from Josie Doolin, who's a friend of mine here in Australia, who is a huge Mike Love fan, and she always helps me out whenever Mike comes to Australia and makes his shows look beautiful, and she puts in a lot of work, and appreciate her. But she asked what it's like to travel and work with some of our time's most conscious and influential musicians. My answer to that is that I'm just super blessed, really. The work that they do is so important, and I only have to, the proudest moments I ever have, and what feels like the moment where all of that hard work and commitment that you've had, and I'm talking months into the lead up of a tour as well, you're working day and night, preparing everything. So there's a lot of work involved, and that moment of when these guys get up on stage and do their thing and show their genius and have such a good time. And you're looking out at the crowd and you just see how that affects people, like people crying. Like I've seen, I mean, hundreds and hundreds of shows of Nahko, and Mike's the same. You know, people are so deeply affected by their music. And so it's an honor. It's an honor and a privilege to work with them, and I couldn't be more grateful. So yeah, it's a hard slog, but it's definitely worth it, and they've got important things to say. So cool. Hi, Natalie Rise. Yay, I love you. Natalie's on the bill for One Earth Live as well. All the homies, of course. Got to get the homies on the bill. And yeah, that looks like a good place to stop. Look, I did pour myself a wine. I haven't had any. It's 10:17 in the morning now, so I guess that's cool, right? So thanks for joining me. I guess that's that. And I'll see you all out on the road. Somewhere, sometime, hopefully sooner rather than later. I feel like with the States, it probably won't be till next year sometime. So I'm going to stick it out here in Australia. I got a dog, so I'm here for a minute. I even bought a car for the first time in 12 years. But yeah, we will be back, and it'll be bigger and badder than ever, and everyone's going to be so stoked for live music again. I know, I can't wait. I'm looking at old pictures of, like, you know, the crowds we've been playing to, and I get a little weepy because it's just so cool. But yeah, you got to do what you got to do while it's happening, and everyone, I hope you're all making the most of the time and enjoying all the live streams and stuff that are happening. Please tune in to One Earth Live, because it's going to be rad. Share it with all your friends. It's all around the world. We've got Israelis and Indians and Palestinians and Australians and Kiwis and people from Europe, and everything from our music to kirtan music to Bruce Lipton and all of these incredible visionaries and speakers, and it's just going to be super cool. So all right, what do we do now? Hang on, Reed, let me just see what you're telling me. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I forgot. Oh, you've thrown me a question. Should I answer it? Okay, let's do it. Greg Hannes, what is one thing you wish fans understood? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question, but I'll quickly answer it before we go. I think that there are a few things. I mean, I think most fans get that, it's not all just like glamour and glitz. It's really hard work. Like the band and everyone on the team, the whole production team. We've got some great people in our team, but we all work our butts off to make it happen, And sometimes, after a show and after touring and whatever, there might not be a lot to give. So if you ever meet any of your band members and, they seem a bit grumpy or whatever, it's probably because they've had a really serious few days or weeks or whatever on the road and are exhausted, and you never know, and everyone has their days, So if you ever come across that, I just want you all to know that everybody I work with are awesome people, really good people with good hearts and good intention, and for that I'm really grateful, because it just takes one person in a group, especially when you work together so closely, to make things difficult or toxic even. So, we don't have that. And super grateful for it. Yeah. So yeah, that was kind of a roundabout answer to the question, but yeah, there's a lot going on. There are a lot of wheels in motion. So balls being juggled, and yeah, I think anyone who thinks that we're just cruising along having a party, yeah, it's not that. It's not that. Okay, cool. Well, thank you, everybody. It was really nice to have you along. I really appreciate the support, and good luck to you wherever you are. I hope you're making the most of it and loving each other. All right, bye. Thanks.